What's up, guys? This is Coding with Gautam, and today we will be doing the library project. So, as the AP exam is approaching, we need to review specifically what is on the AP test. I'll be doing a full out review later, but for now, let's just finish the libraries project. So, what is the libraries project? So, once if you watch my earlier videos, you realize that a library is just a set of functions that others can use instead of having to define their functions each and every single time they use it. For example, would be like a simple math function with maximum, minimum, and average. So instead of for them having to write the function every single time, they can just import a library where they have functions in and where they could just use them. That's the point of libraries. We use libraries in many places in daily life, such as NumPy, Pandas, Scikit-learn, TensorFlow, PyTorch. All of these are used for machine learning and they help greatly aid in technological advancement. So let's not go that deep, but let's do the basics. So for the project, you need to create 4 functions, and now I'm just going to show you my project. So first of all, all your functions have to be surrounded around a theme. You cannot just have a function that like talks about like strings and then a function that talks about numbers. No, they have to be aligned on one single theme for this project specifically. But then, so mine is basically give when you're given a list of numbers, it can sort it. So first we have the maximum. So first we check if the list is valid. So we'll get to that function later. So if the list is not valid, we turn not a number. But if not, we set the max to -1, and then we loop through the list, and then if we get a number bigger than -1, then it gets set as max. So what this does is, of course, this is a grade calculator, right? So this is when you're given the list of the person's grades, you have to calculate which is the highest. So this is what we're doing. We can have the list, and next then every time this is greater than max. So let's try this one, right? So we have -1. 68 is greater than -1, so then max is now 68. 73 is bigger than 68. 73 is the new max. 56, it just skips the if loop. 25 skips the if loop, and then 92 is greater than the maximum. The max is 92, it returns 92. So that's how it does it. Now let's go to minimum. It's the exact same thing but reverse now. You get the variable minimum, but this time set it to 101, and then you work your way downwards. Then let's go to top three. So top three is looks really confusing, but it's again really simple. So this is just a simple sorting algorithm. So this returns your top 3 highest grades. So how does it do this? It creates 2 separate instances of loops. One where you're looping through the list with I, and one when you're looping through the list through J. So this one's looping from left to right. This one loops from wherever I is to the left. So essentially you're going in 2 different directions. And how this does is that first you have the temporary variable, right? So next said after this is done, of course, when you're looping through the list with I, you make sure that if the list J, so basically J, for example, let's try this list, right? So in this list, this would be J. And next then, if it's less than J plus 1, you basically just incur the switching process. All of this just switches. Since we're using JavaScript, we can't just do the Python way of just switching. No, we have to, first of all, let's say we have, let's make this simpler. So if you have A and B, right? So A is 1, B is 2. So if we just put A equals to B and B equals to A, when you put A equals to B, A becomes 2, the 1 just disappears, and then they become this. So that's why you create a temp variable, store A in the temp variable, turn that, and then put the temp variable to B. So that's how you effectively switch. So that's exactly what's happened here. You just simply use the temp variable, incur the switch, and then that's done. So how does this help is that this makes sure that we're actually changing, and the I makes sure that we don't get out of the loop. That's why we're going from right to left to count the amount of times we do it, and we go left to right using J to see that we actually move the list. This might sound a little confusing, but if you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. I'll be glad to help. But now is valid. This is literally like the most important function we call every time. So this function loops to the list and make sure that all of these are valid grades between 0 and 100. So first you check if, of course, if the list is a list. It cannot have a length of 0 because you cannot evaluate it then. So it returns false. Then it checks and it makes sure that if the type of, so every list, every item in the list is an integer, or in this case, we're using core.org, it's a number. So we check if every item in the list is a number, then we make sure if it's greater than 0 and less than 100. If it doesn't follow any of these, we return false. If all these are passed, we return true. And of course, these are all the testings. Make sure you do that. These are really important for your library's project. And so, how do you export it? But before you export it, you need to make sure three things. One, your functions are not calling outside functions, because remember, this should be able to run on its own without any interference. You can only call functions in the library. Two, make sure that it does return values and it does take an arguments. That's how you know that's how you know that it's basically a valid function for a library. So now how do you publish it? So share here, then you show advanced options, then you share as a library, you click that, you name it whatever you want, hide description, you select all functions to be sent, and then this is the documentation for each function. So the documentation basically is sense, right? So when you're giving this to someone, they do not know what, in a sense, the top three function does, right? They're like, what does this do? That's why you have this. This function loops through and displays the three highest values, takes in a list as grades as input parameter, outputs the three highest grades in the list, follows the rules of isValid function. If the list inputted returns false from the isValid function, NaN is inputted from the top three. So you explain the different outputs, the parameters, and basically what the function does. You do that for all of them, and then you're good. So let's just name this, oh, let's just name this the grade sorter, and then helps you sort your grades. Then that, next thing, click publish, and then you copy ID, and then you can use this to submit it, and of course share this library with your classmates. So this is the library project. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe. This is Coding with Gautam, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day, and yeah, enjoy your weekend, and good luck for the test.